As far as our lives, what do you think has changed mostly? Like, for example, in your normal habits of daily habits or how you live your life now. Obviously, work is different. We have a lot of things, but in your personal life, how are you adapting to this new situation?
I mean, pretty much everything has changed, really. I mean, I think that's true for everybody. I don't think, like, just everything, little things, like, and I think a lot of people can relate to this where it's like you have little habits that change. So for me, it's like, okay, I've been making coffee at home now because I used to go get coffee. Okay, I don't do that anymore. I'm a big basketball fan, so especially this time of year is like basketball prime time. There's no basketball, and it's like such a reflex for me to be like, because especially I like to work at night, so I'll put on a basketball game while I'm working or something, and I'll I don't do it now. I'm over the hump now, but for the whole like week after they canceled the NBA season, I was like, I literally would like reach for my pocket, be like, oh, what games are on tonight? Oh, there's no games on tonight.
Yeah.
And little things like that. I mean, just everything. And then obviously work is much more disrupted just because I think everybody's kind of in limbo right now. And one thing that I was obviously, I think most people, obviously, for the people who work non-essential jobs, not to say that we are not very important people, but no, I mean, we're a marketing agency, so we're not an essential job, right? And I'm sure, most people out there don't work essential jobs. Obviously, there's a lot of healthcare workers, grocery, etc. And those people are doing great work. But obviously, the majority of the people don't work those jobs. And I think for the people who are not working those jobs, this is just a good time to kind of reflect.
Yeah, I agree.
And think. I mean, it's funny because like
it's just how many things we take for granted normally,
yeah.
Especially us. I mean, I'm talking us as being in the U.S. that we have a certain lifestyle that other people don't have, and now when our lifestyle is interrupted and affected so severely as far as our social life, connections, and everything else, and things that we can do. It really affects us, like little things, like even going to have a cup of coffee or watching an NBA game. You're looking at things that are more for us, whereas you go to other
right.
countries.
And I don't want to say like I'm complaining, like okay, my problems. There's no NBA, big whoop. Obviously, I'm fine. Okay, I'm not complaining, but yes, it is just different. It's just like all of a sudden, overnight, all of the little habits you have change. Before every morning, I used to wake up and check my email first thing. That was always my first thing. Oh, pull up my phone, check my email. Now I actually check the stock market first thing instead of my email. So little things like that, But yeah, I think everything's changed.
One of the things that I've noticed too, and I'm similar to you as far as my normal habits obviously have changed, and this is like in the news, and it's like I normally don't watch news, honestly, because I think news is always bad news. It's just somebody said the other day CNN is the crisis news network or whatever. I mean, it's like everything is breaking news, red bands, everything. With this coronavirus thing, I think it's 50% pandemic, 50% fear-induced media that just wants to portray headlines that don't make any sense.
Well, I think I was talking with someone about this the other day, and I think that a lot of this, the reason why people took so long to react to the coronavirus was because, and I blame the media for this in a sense that it's like the boy who cried wolf. The media makes everything look like a big deal.
Right.
And that's their business. They make everything, breaking news is the biggest story in the world. So that when there finally was something where you really should be ringing the alarm and saying, this is a big deal, pay attention. Because people have been hearing that for so many years when it wasn't true. It's the boy who cried wolf.
But it's just, I don't know. I mean, sometimes you like to look at the positive side of things. And I'm not saying like hiding the truth or anything, but unfortunately, we live in a world where the internet and the news media and the clickbaits and all that stuff rule, and that's how they get more clicks, more advertising money, more revenues, more visitors, and so forth. And sometimes you start looking at the headlines, and you see the headline, which is really negative, and then you click on it, read the article, excuse me, and the article really is not that negative itself. The article is just explaining everything, but they extract the only negative part of the story to put it on the headline. Because if they say things are going better, people may not click. Like they say, for example, they say the number of deaths are expected to increase over the next few weeks. Okay, well, that's just logical. Unless people that are dead come alive, the number of deaths are going to increase over the next few weeks. I mean, that's just a stupid headline right there. Okay? And they're never going to decrease. Now, if you start clarifying, say, the percentage or the ratio or something like that, but they say the number of deaths are expected to increase over the next few weeks. Well, yeah, it's always going to be the case. I don't care if you have coronavirus. People are going to add to the people that are dead already. Okay, so we have 5,000, 6,000, 7,000. I expect it to increase. Okay, but then they're actually saying that in the article they say, well, but the recovered cases are also increasing and this, and we started to see that some countries are reaching the peak and all that stuff. Okay, why don't you put that on the headline? Because they always pick the bad news. And I don't care which side of the spectrum you are in politics or whatever, even if it's a news, a press conference or something, they always pick that line that you are in theory not lying, but you're skewing the story into the one that is going to give you the more clicks. And believe me, you were talking about habits. Every morning now, I'm actually reading newspapers from Spain to see what's going on there, newspapers from France, newspapers from England. And when I say newspapers, obviously I go to the online, to the internet versions, and I think obviously the US. And it's interesting because it's something that is across the board. I don't care which media outlet you read, they all are focusing on all the negative aspects of this. Yeah, and there's silver linings out there that are good and good stories, but nobody actually, they put them at the bottom, lower left, like a little article saying, oh, this person actually did this or recovered, or this person did a good thing, or...
Well, you talk about the globalness of it. I forget who said it. Someone said it the other day. But they basically said, and at first it sounds like, oh, that's not true. But it is true when you think about it, that this is probably the biggest global event that has happened since World War II. I mean, really, World War II ended in 1945. Since then, has there been there's been big events within countries, but within globally, where there is nobody who's unaffected by this. Has there really been an event? I don't think so. I think this is the biggest global event that's happened in a century, basically.
Yeah, not in recent memory, for sure. And the way, not only that, I mean, this is an event that is come like a tsunami. I mean, like we were... I remember...
It's an event that no one alive today has lived through something like this.
Right.
So that no one really knows how to navigate this. There's no one alive today who was alive in this 1918 Spanish flu, you know? So I think people don't know how to navigate it. And I also think that people... I think that there's some groups that are completely in denial, and I think there's other groups that are completely way over exaggerating. Mm-hmm. And I think it's somewhere in the middle. I think people who are in denial thinking that, oh, this is going to be 8 weeks and then back to normal, I think they're lying to themselves.
They do that without any fundamental knowledge of what is going on. I think some people that are in denial, they do it like a psychological theme for themselves.
People don't like bad news.
Right. Like they psych themselves to say, oh, this is nothing, just to kind of get motivated, like a motivational tool for themselves to say, it's like everything else is not going to be this, but it is. But that's the thing. Like, I think it's 50% the truth of the pandemic that we have global, as the name implies, and the other 50% is more the fact that we are now watching more news than ever, reading more stories than ever. We'll get into Twitter and Facebook in a little bit, but all those things are like, that's all we know. There's nothing else to look. There's no sports. There's no other news. There's no culture. There's no history. There's nothing. Everything you see is about that. Every email you get is somehow related to that, whether it's a company that you work with or a company that you're a client of that is telling you their philosophy.
Even with us on this podcast, I was like, well, I don't really want to talk about it because we've talked, I mean, especially us, because we've been talking about it for...
This is like the third or fourth week that we do it. Yeah.
No, but I mean, we did podcasts in early February about it. And I was writing in my newsletter in January.
We were talking about...
it's been like, for me personally, 2 months of talking about it to where now I'm like, okay, I'd like to mix it up. But the truth is, there's just nothing else to talk about. We send newsletters and it's like, okay,